Now, members of the inter-party resistance against the new voters register have hit the streets again in Accra to demonstrate to march through some town principal streets to demand of the Electoral Commission to back down on its decision to compile a new voters register. The demonstrators, clad in red attires, are wielding placards with various inscriptions. The latest is that they have presented a petition to government. Earlier, Nigo Prampram, Member of Parliament Sam George, said the Electoral Commission has no option than to yield and back down on the new voters register.
We've seen 3 demonstrations. I mean, this is a 3rd demonstration. The one in the northern region, the one in the Ashanti region. If the EC was going to heed to your call, that would have been done by now, you agree?
Don't worry. Until the 18th of April, the EC has not started. And so we are saying that it will not happen. Not in this country. Because the EC is not law unto herself. There is no justification. They've not been able to give a justification. And every well-meaning Ghanaian who is worried about the peace and stability of this country must call out the EC, the Peace Council, the National, the Christian Charismatic Council, the Council of Churches, the Chief Imam's Office, the traditional rulers, National House of Chiefs. They must call out the EC because what the EC is doing is a perfect recipe for disaster in this country. And when disaster hits this country, it will affect every single one of them in their high offices. It's not just going to be the grassroots. Every one of them will pay. Because if the EC says that she is going to complete the compilation of the register on the 8th of November, less than a month to the conduct of the election, where do you hear this? I mean, this is a perfect recipe for disaster. And as we say in Ghana,
so right now, when you go to the EC office and the Flagstaff, what are you going to be presenting to them? I hear you are petitioning them.
There's a petition. The petition will be read out there. It will be made public, not just to the Electoral Commission, but also to the President's office.
And that's my colleague Komla Adum interacting with Sam George, part of the inter-party resistance members. Well, the latest is that they have presented their petition to the Jubilee House. Now, in a related development, the National Peace Council has charged the 2 main political parties to adopt and fully implement the roadmap designed by the Technical Committee to deal with the threats of party militia. The National Peace Council suspended its dialogue with the political parties to allow the Technical Committee prepare a detailed roadmap with the inputs of the political parties to tackle the menace. Chairman of the Peace Council, Reverend Emmanuel Asante, in his opening remarks observed that failure to adopt the roadmap will be a disruption of the entire process. My colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson joins me via phone to give us an update on this ongoing meeting. Kwesi Parker-Wilson, what can you report?
All right, so Mamavi, the Technical Committee of the National Peace Council currently is presenting the detailed roadmap, as we mentioned, to the political parties who are present here. And I must say that the NPP is present and the NDC is fully present. Only 3 officials of the NPP are here this very afternoon. The General Secretary, the Director of Communications, that is Abobina Samoa, and the First Vice Chair, Talata Asabaye, are here. But if you look at the NDC side, almost about 7 people represented the party, including former Attorney General Marita Brew, Apio Pon, and the Director of Communications for the party, Kake Samoa, including lawyer Amaliba and that of Nana Tudazi as well. So the Technical Committee is saying that the detailed roadmap, as they are presented to the political parties, they need to ensure that that is being implemented. Now, they've talked about the drivers of vigilantism, which is largely the mistrust of the Electoral Commission and that of the security agencies as well. So if you read the portion of the roadmap, which I have a copy of, it talks about how government should work to ensure that they build trust with the Electoral Commission. And then again, the security couples have a tenure. So the government wouldn't appoint the security couple anytime there's a new government, but rather the security couple will have a tenure, even if it's 4 years. They know that whether the government is there or not, they're going to serve 4 years. So these are some of the recommendations that the roadmap is seeking to achieve. And it is their hope that at the end of today's presentation, the 2 major political parties will sign and adopt that roadmap to ensure that they deal with the threat of party militia.
And Parker, what's next for the Peace Council?
What's
What's next for the Peace Council? Baka, if you can hear me, I'm asking what the Peace Council's next move will be.
Okay, so the Peace Council's next move clearly is to monitor and track whether or not the political parties are adhering and complying with the roadmap. And we are told that after today's presentation, they are all going to sign the code of conduct and admit that they are ready to engage their party members to refrain from vigilantism and also educate the party members on the threat of activities of vigilantism. So they will be monitoring the whole process to ensure that the political parties commit to the entire process.
Wilson, we now listen to Chairperson of the National Peace Council, Reverend Emmanuel Asante.
I am happy to inform you that in the pursuit of the decision at Peduasi dialogue held on June 25, 2019, the Peace Council, supported by a technical team consisting of institutions named above, painstakingly considered the submissions provided by the MPP and NDC, and factored all the requisite information in the roadmap we are presenting to you today. I strongly believe that it is as a result of this input that made neither the NPP nor the NDC to provide any additional comment. The Council requested in a letter that invited them to the meeting, which took place on November 7, 2019. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, events that have unfolded after the commencement of the dialogue, particularly the passage of the Vigilantism and Related Offences Act 2019, Act 999, leaves no one in doubt the fact that violent vigilante activities have become a security concern to our democracy. In some cases, the activities of these so-called vigilante groups associated with political parties have resulted in tensions ahead of elections, violence, and sometimes destruction of life and property in the country. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the people of Ghana have amply indicated that, one, they are apprehensive about the phenomenon of political vigilantism and the likelihood of a repeat of major incidents of this phenomenon in the past.
We continue to stay with electoral matters, and we return to our earlier story on the inter-party resistance group that's protesting against a new voters' roll. My colleague Komla Adom joins us via telephone. Komla, we know they've presented a petition to the Jubilee House. Is the march over?
Malawi, the march is not over. So the first stop, according to the plan, was to get to the Jubilee House and present a petition to them. And then move from that, the Electoral Commission headquarters present another petition to the commissioners of the commission. So at the moment, the protesters are marching around the Flagstaff House, moving towards the race area where they're going to head towards the Electoral Commission offices. Now, before they got to the Jubilee House where they presented the petition, and there was a brief stop in front of 37, where they had to do with the route that they wanted to use, but the police guided them through the cantonment area. They went through to the Kaiser King area, and they showed up in front of Jubilee House. And then they presented an application to the former Western Regional Minister, now Minister of State and the Presidency, Dr. Kessefu. Now he has pledged to submit the petition to the President for onward attention. And so from there, the members, a sea of red and black individuals, dotted on the church, you can barely find the footpath. They are marching towards the EC offices to do the next presentation.
And Kamala, if you can, also describe the atmosphere. Earlier you reported the march had caused some traffic along the routes that they're taking.
I'm not sure what you're going to be.
So I'm asking you to describe the mood.
It's a very fast atmosphere, I have to say. You can imagine under the 12 many all these individuals, hundreds of them, tuning out of their homes and their workplaces to join this march. They're sweating. They are drenched in sweat. You can see people, t-shirts and red shirts, they're wearing all soaked in sweat, but they are amped. They say the move is to get the Electoral Commission to do just one thing, that is to cut down on the decision to compile this new return. That is all they are concerned about. And so some of them have their keys now because they've been working off other t-shirts, phones somehow. Some are just tired, but they will not give up. They who marched the peace officers and prevent this disease.
And that's my colleague Komla Adum reporting live for us. So we know the protesters are now marching on to the offices of the Electoral Commission. We'll bring you the latest as and when we do get it. But let's move on. The Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleimana Brahima, has described government official one in the AIRBUS bribery scandal as former President John Dramani Mahama. Speaking on the Super Morning Show today on Joy FM, Mr. Brahima said former President Mahama is the only high-level elected government official who fits the description in the court ruling.
4 of our Constitution, it says that a person shall be deemed to be duly elected, an emphasis on elected as vice president. If the person who so designated him to run as his running mate or vice president is duly elected as president in accordance with the provisions of Article 1, I think it's Article 163 of the Constitution.
Okay.
So the Constitution says that the vice president is elected. And so there is no question about that at all. And therefore the president and the vice president will be the ones remaining. Now, in terms of mills, if, as in the documents we've all seen, the transaction went on all the way till 2015, and it said this elected government official was in power or in government as of 2015. And we know that President Mills passed on in 2012. So certainly that then could not be reference to President Mills. And therefore, the conclusion that I draw is that if you do these analysis, and I don't know anyone else who could be described as an elected government official and at the same time be a key decision maker when it comes to acquiring aircraft for our military. And remember, as I said, the vice president then is an elected government official, and of course he's a high-level elected government official. 2, by our Constitution, he chairs the Council of the Armed Forces, and therefore, in terms of making decisions, certainly he's very key, because the part of the job of the council is to make recommendations to the president in terms of decisions and procurements and so on and so forth in terms of our military. And so for me, my conclusion is that I would say, well, if you do all the analysis, it settles on former vice president and later President Mahama as the possible person that is referred to as government official one.
Right.
Mr. Brahima meanwhile says the Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu may be an interested party in the ongoing AIRBUS saga, as he served in government at the time the alleged corruption took place.
But Mr. Martin Amidu himself is quite conflicted, because, I say so because between 2009 till January 2012, Mr. Martin Amidu was part of that government. And in fact, at some point between January 2010 and January 2011, Mr. Martin Amidu was our Minister for the Interior. And by our Constitution, he served on the Council of the Ghana Armed Forces. So it will be interesting to find out, does he know about it? I mean, in terms of the procurement, I'm talking about 2010. And before the 2010, if I'm right, I think he served as an advisor in the office of the president.
Right.
So what does he know about it? And then after leaving as Minister for Interior, he became the Attorney General and Minister for Justice. I think in government contracts and in big government procurement involving international bodies, certainly the Attorney General must have some knowledge. And so I based on these, I would say that perhaps Martin himself is conflicted in this matter until perhaps he makes it clear that, yes, he was in government at the time, held key positions, including being on the Ghana Armed Forces Council, but was not privy to a decision to acquire aircraft for our military. And I think that we need to push that angle for Martin to be clear on that, so that he doesn't commence an investigation that on a matter that he ought to have known or ought to have been privy to, and bring us conclusions that maybe people would not be clear about how it was conducted and whether his interest played a role in one way or the other.
Meanwhile, anti-corruption crusader and former executive director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Vitus Azim, wants all to refrain from speculating who the government officials named in the documents are. He wants President Akufo-Addo to treat all cases of alleged corruption and bribery equal.
In this case, the president has asked the Office of Special Prosecutor to immediately begin looking into this. Good news?
Well, it's good news that the president has acted so promptly, as we have been calling for him to act in similar cases involving his own officials. But it's interesting. Friday it came out, and Sunday there was this instruction to the Office of Special Prosecutor. It is good news. Let's hope that the Special Prosecutor would take up the challenge and come out with findings that will help us to identify the people involved, find out whether there's any loss to the state, and whether such a loss, if there's this, can be recovered, and all that.
You said it sounds interesting that the president immediately referred this to the Office of Special Prosecutor. Are you suggesting then that in other cases of corruption, he could have acted as swiftly?
Yes, I think that's what we normally expect of him as the president that has promised to curb corruption. So every other thing, if he does that, it will be very nice.
Which other cases of corruption do you feel that he didn't act as quickly as he should?
Oh, but a lot of them people have to put pressure on him before he comes out, and even when the report comes out, it is not made public, and all that. You and I, these are things that are in the public domain. Let's say the Australia visa saga, let's say the boss case, the Ghana maritime case. It takes some time before he decides that an investigation should be conducted. So it's not a new thing.
The NDC Member of Parliament for Noctong, Samuel Kujetu-Ablakwa, wants the issues to be considered in a broader perspective, holding multinationals accountable for shady deals they conduct in other countries.
AIRBUS SE. And I think that we should focus discussion on the conduct of multinationals, how they set up slush funds to influence decisions, to induce, to scout for personalities who could win them favors, who could open doors that they do not deserve, who could give them an advantage. Remember that if you go to the background of this case, Boeing had raised concerns about the practices of their competitor, AIRBUS SE. And you notice that the conduct of AIRBUS SE was very consistent in all the countries they had operated. We shouldn't lose sight of the fact that the UK SFO was not the only entity looking at AIRBUS SE.
No, it wasn't.
In 5 countries. That's Ghana, Taiwan, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, and Ghana, Taiwan, Malaysia, the Sri Lanka, and a few other countries. The Americans looked at their conduct in other countries. France also looked at their business operations in other countries, including Colombia, China, and what have you. You notice that it is AIRBUS that are the perpetrators. And you see, because we are in an election year, and how desperate sometimes political actors want to take political advantage and throw mud at each other.
From the AIRBUS controversy, the commander of the Anti-Galamsey Security Task Force, Operation Vanguard, is advocating the establishment of a fast-track court for speedy prosecution of illegal mining cases. Colonel William Norte says the missing link in the fight against the menace is lack of prosecution, which is thwarting the efforts of the task force. He tells Love FM in Kumasi only about 5% of over 2,700 arrested have been convicted.
When we talk about prosecution, it has been the weakest link in this fight. We have arrested so many people and convictions have been very few. And because the court processes are slow, these people are on bail, the cases are adjourned, and while the cases are being adjourned, they are in the field mining. And sometimes you arrest someone who is already facing court in the field again, which shows that they don't even care. They are so brazen. There's something that needs to be done about it. We have proposed a fast-track system to deal with these cases. We might need some kind of military-grade drone, which we can put perpetually on the water bodies to be able to pick coordinates of where all these dredges are. Some of them are deep inside forest reserves, and it's difficult to actually locate them very easily. But a drone which can pick heat signatures can pick these locations, and then we can move there straight. At this time of the year, you can't put any navigable vessel on the rivers because the rivers are so dry, rocks are all out, and we have just got a lot of our outboard motors damaged as a result of the low level of water and also the rocks, which are protruding now because the water level is low.
Now, the National Port Health says it will hand over to the security agencies passengers who fail to disclose accurate information at the country's points of entry. National Coordinator of Port Health, Dr. Dennis Lai, has been briefing the media at the Kotoka International Airport, where surveillance systems have been enhanced to prevent spread of the deadly coronavirus into Ghana. Health editor Fred Smith is at the airport and joins us on the phone with some details. Fred, what more can you report?
Well, Mamazi, I see a step up in the surveillance here at the International Airport. I was here last week, and what I saw was the forms that passengers will have to fill and then the scanners that would detect their temperature. Beyond this, they have also introduced information on the screens that are rolling within the airport area so that passengers coming in will know what to do in case they suspect they would have come into contact with a surface that's been infected with the virus, whether they are unwell, and that amounts to seeing a doctor, or what they should do, first of all, to stay away from the virus at all. And so that's been added to it. What I also saw was the fact that people are allowed to provide information that can also be false on the form. And so I asked the National Coordinator of Port Health what they would do in case someone provides this information that turns out to be false. And he says they intend to hand such persons over to the security agencies because this is a security matter. So he is saying that at all entry points, both the land borders and other areas, people will be required to provide the accurate information, but those who deliberately provide the false information will be dealt with.
And that's head of our health desk there, Fred Smith, giving us a live report from the Kotoka International Airport, an update on how the country is getting itself ready for the coronavirus. Meanwhile, we know the Health Minister, Kweku Agyeman-Manu, is in Parliament, and he's assured that health systems are on high alert to avert possible entry of the coronavirus in the country. Now, education at the elementary and junior high school levels is free in government schools in the country, but pupils of the Ezile Community School are paying the hard price to access it. Every day, these children walk a total of 4 hours to and from school. This, according to their tutors, is having an adverse impact on their performances in class. JoyNews' Henry Kwesibedu made a 2-hour journey with the pupils as they trekked to school and came through with this report read to you.
It's 7 a.m. at the Western Region community of Komantfukrom. As parents go about their daily activities, pupils get ready for school. They don't have the luxury of using school buses. They would have to endure a long walk to enjoy the right to education. They walk for almost 10 kilometers to access school. We followed these children as they made their journey in search of knowledge. After several minutes of walking, the children are drenched in sweat, and of course their feet gather dust on the hilly and dusty terrain. Sometimes they get left at the back of trucks. Other times, motorcyclists are kind to them and give them a ride to school. After almost 2 hours of navigating the dusty path, we finally get to their school at about 9 a.m. Other students had already started lessons. They clean their feet before settling down for schoolwork. "20-year-old Raphael Ashrejoy is a JHS 3 student of the Esdale Methodist School and a resident of Komanfusua. According to her, walking long distances to school drains their energy levels, leaving them tired and demoralized.
My hometown is Komanfusua. We walk about three hours before I reach to school. But when I come to school, I was very tired, so I can't learn more. But when I go to home. When I went home, I was very also tired, so I can't learn more. I will sleep. They can't come to school because our distance is very long. So they can't come to school, and they don't like coming to school because when they come, their uniform and their socks and their boots will become very dirty.
Those who endure the long distances say almost 4 hours of work daily to school and back home, combined with 6 hours of schoolwork, leaves them drained. Because of the long journey to school, children start school when they are old enough to walk long distances. For example, Michael Kofi is 16 years, but he is only in primary 5.
If I wake up in the morning, I come to school. I walk about 2 hours before I stay at this school. And after I'm still here, my shoe and my socks will be dirty. So I want to tell Excellency Nana Abudakwa, you should come and help us about the road and our school. We don't have a class, so we sit at the sands. So I want to tell him that he will come and help us. It means that lawyer Kojoko should come and help us about the school. Before I stay at this school, I was very tired, so when I can't learn more. The road was very long, so I can't learn more. Before we close and we go home, I have tired. So if you eat and go to the bed and sleep.
Teachers at the school believe the trend is increasing truancy, which is affecting the performance of the children. Ishmael Kamal Dean is head teacher here.
We usually don't get 100% of them, though it's unattainable. But comparatively, you could see that those moving from that place, their percentage is very, very less. And as I'm speaking to you now, if you go there, you will see a lot of kids moving around because they think walking from that far distance to the school is uneasy. And if you compare, they spend a lot of time at home before being enrolled in schools. The younger ones, from age 6 to 8, you could see that they will be at home because they can't walk that far distance. So they will be around 10, 11, 12 years before they start schooling, which is very, very, uncalled for, in fact. Because of the distance, some of them are not even schooling because of the distance, and some will come to school twice or once a week. Even if I come out with the attendance register, you could see that those absenting much are from that community.
Children unable to endure the long journeys to access school daily are kept at home. Diana Kale has 4 children, but just one has been enrolled in school.
7 years. My 3 children who are home with me are just between the ages of 5 and 8 and can't make the distance. Most of the children here attend school 2 or 3 times in a week. They are always tired when they return from school.
Most
While you're watching Joy News today, coming up, we've got business and boosting vegetable export. We'll tell you how agribusiness entrepreneurs are benefiting from the Ghana Commercial Agriculture Projects. Daryl Clow brings you details of that.